of course, we do the recordings, and then we also have post-session notes, which will go out on the beginning of the week, and you'll be getting those Monday or Tuesday, and if you're on the PLC list, so we'll be set there. One thing about our small groups is we have the ability to get to know each other and find out what everyone is doing and ask questions. So first thing we like to do is introduce everyone, because we're able to, because we have a small group. And the reason for this is we got always have new people, and we like to put faces to names, and hopefully when we all get together in person on May 24th, we'll be able to recognize, oh, I remember you from the PLC. So we spend the time, we think it's worth it to get to know each other a little more personally. So I'll start off with Nolan. Nolan, do you want to introduce yourself, where you're from?
Sure. I'm right now in South Carolina. I'm a consultant with HMTRI, and I work with Mike and Steve. And unfortunately, Steve will not be with us today, so I'll be trying to fill in for some of his parts and some of my usual parts. But anyway, it's good to see and hear from everyone, and thanks for being here.
Okay, and then my name is Mike Senu. I facilitate these PLCs. I'm with HMTRI. David, how are you today?
Good morning. I'm good this morning. My name is David Cantu. I'm with City San Elizario, and I also am on the Rio Grande Council of Governments Board of Directors Board. So we're looking into some opportunities for brownfields in the area.
Fantastic. And we're always welcoming new applicants for this round of applications. So welcome to the PLC. Diana, how are you today?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm doing well. Hope everyone's doing well with the workplace here in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Great. Mac.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mac Galabet. I am the Senior Manager of Workforce here in Southwest Economic Solutions. We are located in Detroit, Michigan. We currently have a EPA grant, and I'll talk a little bit about it later.
Good. And Karen works with Mac.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Govan, the Director of Workforce Development at Southwest Economic Solutions.
Great. Felicia Allen.
Hey everyone. Yes, my name is Felicia Allen, and I'm one of the project officers in Region 8 with EPA. I'm working alongside Christine, so it's my first time attending. And
Great.
And David, I actually remember you from you. It's so good to see you.
Well, that's what this is all about. We want to connect people. So we that's what the whole purpose of the PLC is about. So welcome.
Thank you.
So let's go to Rachel. How are you? How are things out there? Did we catch you? Okay. Oh, there's Rachel. Do you want to put your sound on? Rachel has got one of those challenging PLC, challenging BJT programs. Well, let's see, your sound is off, but we could come back to you when if you have a chance. Okay. Okay. How about Kelly? Kelly's calling in. So if you hear me, Kelly, do you want to say hello to the group?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kelly Batch. I'm from Dunbar, West Virginia, and I work for a nonprofit called KISRA, Canal Institute for Social Research and Action.
Okay, and another potential job training program in the works here. Channing.
Yes.
You want to introduce yourself? Okay. Channing is okay. His sound is off. Let's go to Yvette.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yvette Caria Solis. I'm the director at El Centro Inc. in Kansas City, Kansas.
Great. And Mr. Long, how are you today? Do we got you? Okay, we'll see if we'll go on to Katie. Katie?
Hi there, Katie Cameron from Youth Builds Louisville. We are a hopeful Brownfields job training grantee.
Fantastic, fantastic. Amy. Amy. Okay, well, I'll introduce Amy. Amy's from Alaska Forum, and they have a, as I was saying before we got started, AB has got one of the toughest programs around. They've got every issue there is. Dispersed employers, dispersed participants, inclement weather, and they're doing a fantastic job. And I hope to see her soon on the PLC. Jessica Guzman.
Good afternoon. My name is Jessica. I'm from Puerto Rico and from Hazardous Corporation.
Fantastic. Very good. Erwin.
I'm sorry, Amy had to take a phone call, so she says hello to everyone.
Oh, okay.
And she'll be back with us during the call.
Oh, great. Okay, Erwin.
Hi, my name's Erin Fernandez. I'm with Groundwork Denver. We're an environmental justice nonprofit, and I am the Green Pathways project manager. So I support youth leadership and green workforce development.
Fantastic. Great. We were just talking to some people out of Colorado, and great job, y'all working on out there. Steve, how are you, Steve?
Hello there, Mike. Hello, everyone. My name is Steve Surtees. I work with CPWR, the Center for Construction Research and Training. We're actually an NIEHS grantee under the Environmental Career Worker Training Program, which is similar to your program. And thank you to Mike and his team for the PLC emails. I try to tune in here and there as my schedule allows, or when there's a topic of interest, and I'm very interested to hear about today's presenter with working with previously incarcerated populations. Good to be here. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Mac is going to be talking about their program, and we're going to be discussing strategies after he discusses his program. We're going to be talking about the strategies on incarceration, and that works right into Paul, who probably knows more than anybody in the room about strategies for working with returning citizens. Paul, do you want to introduce yourself?
Paul Salmons, Recycle Force, employment social enterprise out of Indianapolis. And we definitely have some stories to share. I don't know. I know as much as the collective. In fact, I know I don't. That's why this forum, this platform is so good, so we can learn from each other.
Okay. Let's see, did I get John Galatos?
Yeah, hi.
Hey, John.
Sorry about that.
I almost missed you.
No, it's crazy. I was on the phone with now industry is being informed of the services we provide with hazmat, and HAZWAPER and hazmat, etc. So industry wants training.
Good.
So I was very happy to be speaking to the refineries. So I'm just preparing contracts, quotes, name it. I'll go crazy here. So,
well, that's fantastic because we'll be starting to talk about the applications and what we need to do in terms of doing community assessments and labor market assessments and partnerships. And of course, you know, this program's all about placing people. So the one of the most important things is getting to know your industry and what's out there. And when they come to you, that's a step up. So fantastic.
Yeah, you see what happened is the thing is not only industries that are looking for competent, skilled, and certified individuals, but also companies that want to retrain and continually retool their own people.
Well,
So that changes the market hourly wages, because people in industry are making $30-40 an hour in the refineries, yet the ones that come out, they're looking to get a job for about $15-16 an hour. You
Right.
see there's a imbalance there, but anyway, that is good problems to have.
Well, we'll be talking about that. Now, is that Rita out there? How are you, Rita?
Great. And yes, it is me out here. I just got finished on a ranking review for assessment grants. So I'm ready to go. I'm
Good.
ready to put in my comments for JT grants. Let's
Good.
do
Well,
this.
well, welcome to today's PLC. Well, before we talk to Mac about the program in Southwest Economic Solutions, Nolan's going to go over some announcements that many of you have heard, but we like to repeat them. We have a lot of new people. We always have different people on the call. Did I miss anyone that would like to introduce themselves? Okay. We may have other people joining, but that's okay. Nolan, do you want to kind of go over some of the
Sure.
items? Now, all of these things will be in the notes that you'll get at the beginning of the week, but we do want to just make an announcement.
Okay, thanks, Michael, and good afternoon, everyone. The first announcement is please join us for the 2023 All Grantee Meeting. So this is the big event we have. It's on Wednesday and Thursday, May 24th and 25th at the Hilton Alexandria Old Town in Alexandria, Virginia. And there's travel the day before and the day after the conference. Some of the topics that are being considered for this face-to-face conference are grants management, the federal regulations that impact BJT program implementation, grantee partnerships, employers, advisory boards, social services, and working with WIBs and trainer resources, challenges and minefields for BJT grantees, including transportation, childcare, cultural, gender issues, and demographic disparities. The environmental justice tool, and this is a very valuable tool in locating demographic and environmental information when you're establishing your target service areas. The ACRES tool for brownfields jobs training grantees, again, going through how you fill those out, and that's a very critical tool for reporting to EPA. Rural grantee issues, tips and strategies for recruiting and screening, working with diverse populations. And so we think it's an incredible opportunity for you to network with each other and gain information. We'll have networking opportunities, lunches, briefings from breakout discussions, open forums, and again, plenty of opportunities to meet and mingle and make those all important connections with each other, which strengthens the network. And we've had about 33 people register so far. So we're happy with that and encourage you, if you haven't registered yet, to go ahead and register and make your room reservations for the conference. HMTRI will cover the cost of 3 nights of lodging. So checking in on Tuesday, May 23rd, and checking out Friday, May 26th. We've secured a block of rooms at the Hilton Alexandria Old Town Hotel. And there is a 2-step process if you're planning to attend. And the first is to register for the meeting. And it's a limit of 2 people per organization in terms of the reimbursement. So we'll give you a phone numbers that you can call for the conference. And second is, a link for the conference registration. And then the second is to actually reserve your room at the hotel, and we'll give you phone numbers for that. So you need to be prepared to provide a credit card to reserve the room, and that's kind of a standard hotel policy to reserve the room, and you will be charged for incidentals that are not covered by HMTRI. So what is covered? That's important. HMTRI, we will be providing 2 continental breakfasts and 2 lunches on the 2 days of the conference, May 24th and 25th. And if you're driving, there is discounted parking available. And what is not covered is the transportation, transfers, and incidentals. So again, if you get there, we can cover you, but getting there is going to be on you. So you need to make those plans and work with your budget. But we do hope that you'll attend. This is an event we have annually. We've had to have it virtually because of COVID the last couple of years, but this will be our first in-person conference in quite a while. So we expect it to be a grand affair. And if you have any questions, you can contact any of us, but especially Steve, not because he's not here, but because he's our main contact. And we'll have his email in the notes for you to contact Steve. The next item is the Brownfields 2023 National Conference, and this is going to be in August from the 8th through the 11th in Detroit, Michigan. And the last one in Oklahoma City had about 2,100 registrants and featured 130 educational sessions. So this is the big deal with ICMA and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And it's one of the longest ICMA running grant programs. And so it will be in, like I said, Detroit, Michigan, August 8th through 11th. So mark your calendars for that. And again, that's a fantastic opportunity. Also, we'll be there as HMTRI, and we'll have an exhibit we'll talk about a little bit later set up for you. And this is for you to be able to talk about your programs or present information about your programs to that audience at ICMA. The 2023 Phoenix Award nominations are open, and this is the premier awards program for brownfields redevelopment. And the nominations are due by April 17th. And so we will have information and a nomination form in the notes. They're in the last set of notes, and they'll be in the set of notes that we send out after this program. And yes, you can nominate yourself. So again, it's a unique opportunity to tout your program. And we do have a couple of Phoenix Award winners. And again, it's a very good to recognize all the hard work you've done. And if you're interested in being a sponsor or an exhibitor at Brownfields, we do have an interest form, and we'll be sending you the link to that. It's also on the last set of notes. And again, we're going to be sponsoring a booth, and this is an opportunity where you can use it as a home base, and it's a place to meet potential employers and display your program materials. Lastly, EPA Region 3 is initiating a quarterly open discussion, and they've announced quarterly Zoom calls as an opportunity to meet with regional brownfield stakeholders, including the EPA brownfield project officers, technical assistance providers, as well as the current and prospective brownfield grantees. So open discussions will address challenges and provide input on topics that impact the community. And so for more information and registration, you can check out the notes. It'll be in section 6. That'll be distributed early next week. Again, that's for EPA Region 3. The next little section we have is we do get questions from some of you. And so we think if they are of general interest, we'll just kind of try to answer the mail. So one of the questions was when I use the online hotel registration, and this is for the all grantee conference, it appeared that I'll be charged for the entire hotel stay. And I did not appreciate that they might charge my card the room rate. So what'll happen is that there's 2 ways to register. One is online and one is by phone. And if you do the online registration, they send you a receipt for it. And there's a little bit of a shock value on that receipt. And so we understand the concern regarding the appearance or the apparent hotel charge for your room reservation. And the hotel explained that this is a standard reservation procedure for many hotels, but you need to note that your credit card has not been billed. So when you get that receipt and they put on a hold and it's, you know, $700 plus for the room, they haven't charged it. There's no charge made to your card. And HMTRI has a direct billing agreement with the hotel, and the people who register for the conference using the HMTRI booking code will be covered by the agreement. The hotel needs the credit card to hold your room and for incidentals that are not covered by our agreement. On your final bill, you will not be charged for the room. So, you know, by the time when all is said and done, the only charges are going to be your incidental fees that you bill to the hotel. And so we're sorry for that inconvenience. And please let us know if you have any other questions. And again, thank you for registering, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the conference. We're not seeing this with people who register by phone. So, you know, again, that's kind of up to you. The next question was, although we've not yet applied for a BJT grant, training returning citizens may be a good fit for our organization. And could you provide us with contact information of grantees who have been successful with transitional training? And so what we'll be putting in the notes is a list of participants who've indicated that they'd be happy to discuss their re-entry programs in more detail. And so we'll have a website to connect it. One second here. Those programs include Recycle Force, Paul Salmons, I'm sorry, Paulina Auberly Foundation with Jake Markowski, Fortune Society, Samantha Pugh, Cypress Mandela Training Center with Eric Shanks. And so these are at least 4 of the PLC members who've had success and experience in this area. And so in the notes, we'll be putting their contact information. And so we thank them for being able to share that information with you. And so each of these programs offers outstanding transitional training with wraparound services for returning citizens. And Mike is going to address that topic a little later today. And so because of the extensive partnering required, we suggest you begin now in preparing to apply for the next round of BJT grants with the request for applications expected in June. So, you know, if this is going to be one of your audiences, there's a lot of preparation that needs to be done to make sure that you're able to sustain them as participants in your program. So with that, I'm going to turn the meeting back over to Mike, and he's going to introduce our speaker.
Thanks, Nolan. And we're going to talk about these strategies later, but we're going to shift gears a little bit. And we thought it would be good, as I had mentioned earlier, to talk to a grantee who applied for the grantee in 21, received it, has gone through a whole cycle, and they know the challenges. And we have a lot of new people who are thinking of applying for the next round of competition. And I think the question comes up, what does this involve? What kind of challenges am I going to have? And of course, we thought it would be appropriate to talk to Mac and to Karen about what they've done and what their program looks like and what they've done over the last 3 years. And with that, they've been working hard in Detroit. I'll turn it over to Mac. Hey, Mac.
Hey, everyone. Is there a possibility to share screen on this one?
Sure. Let me put you over as a host here.
Ooh. I think while we wait, if Karen, you want to give us a quick introduction, and then I can share the screen.
Be great.
Oh, good afternoon. So Mac and I were awarded in 2021, 22 for the EPA to do job training. So we were really excited. We have a great partnership with Detroit Training Center, and they do our CDL as well as our HAZWOP or hazmat training. So we're going to kind of go through just really briefly about what Southwest Solutions provides as an overall program and how we can kind of maybe taper some of the challenges that some people might have just because of our holistic approach to what we do and how we treat each participant. And then, but doesn't mean that there isn't any other additional challenges that we might have. And so Matt will kind of review that. So Southwest Economic Solutions is part of a 501c3, which is under the umbrella of Southwest Solutions. Southwest Solutions is broken up into 3 different 501c3s. One is housing, one is counseling, and ours is economics. And our mission is to lead in providing opportunities for individuals to achieve greater economic success. And we do that through our approach. So, you know, we believe that everyone has the capability and the skills, and everyone has unique goals and skill sets. So how can we take that strength and really capture what they want to do to achieve their goals? We also want to, when we talk about teamwork, not only does it happen within our programs, the community that they build within the training, but also in-house, and how each of us that works, whether they're the case managers or whether they're doing the work, readiness, skills, how we can support each other and help that participant succeed. And of course, the integration. So we do integrate everything. Everyone that comes into our program gets the education, whether they need a ABGED or maybe they just need to build up their math so they can take the TIP test or reading. And we also do the financial coaching. And we know that, hey, you know, they can get a job, but what do they do when they get that first paycheck? And what's that capture? How can we capture and support them? So we do an integrated service, and we do a holistic approach so that we can capture any type of barriers or any type of gaps so that we can make sure that that participant successfully finishes that training.
Yeah, great. I guess you want me to take over?
Sure.
Okay, so I think Karen alluded to as what everyone gets while they're once they get in the program. We call it the holistic approach, right? So each individual that come in, they will meet with our outreach and intake specialist, and at that time we will gather the information that they're reporting, whether it be different barriers that they're going through. As you all know, a lot of the barriers are around transportation, childcare, housing sometimes, a lot, homeless individuals, and things of that nature. So, so we do that with the holistic approach where each individual is assigned a case manager. Each individual is assigned a financial literacy coach, financial coach, and a job developer. So each person gets those 3 individuals following them throughout their program. So as, again, around career planning, transition to post-secondary, we do all that. Workforce training opportunities, we do an IET model where while they're in training, whether it be CDL or hazmat or any other of our programs, we integrate the education component of it. We meet with our employers, we meet with our training partners and say, okay, what do they need in order to grade level or skill based in order to be successful in your company or your organization. So we have changed our curriculum numerous times throughout the programs, but we geared it towards what the employer is asking. And so now we're shifting our programming. This is to on-site education to employers. So employment training on-site while they're working, just additional support with them, the work readiness, the conflict resolution is one big. Customer service training is one of our aspects that we integrate into our programming, as well as just indicating the financial education coaching aspect. And then, some of the areas that we actually provide is home buyer and foreclosure assistance. So if they're going through our program and they get a job and they find out, okay, I want to buy a home, we have home buyer assistance programs, down payment assistance programs. A lot of our partners are banks, and they're incentivizing people to buy homes. And the foreclosure side, we assist them with getting out of foreclosure mitigation, things of that nature. We work with the banks to forego those foreclosures, as well as tax foreclosure assistance as well. So another thing is we're coming soon is a workplace payday loan opportunity. So we're working with employers that are currently in our system, and we find out that somebody may need $500 now.
Oops, did we lose you?
Did he
Mac?
freeze? Oh.
Oh, it's okay.
Well, I can finish up and hopefully we can, he's going to turn the slide, but our payday opportunity loan is, we have employers that we partner with, and if somebody in that, that works there needs like a quick $500, they can go to their HR and they can then get the support that they need. And it comes out of their paycheck. So they're not going to that. We wanted to get rid of that whole, how they go to that cash or that quick cash checking or that quick payday loan where they're having a 300% interest. And
Well,
so
this is a big issue of if you can't employ in transitional training, which we'll talk about later, people need money. And
yes, for emergencies too. I mean, it happens.
Right.
And luckily through us too, because we are a Michigan Works agency, they can register at a Michigan Works before they do the training. So some of those emergency payments like rent or car, repair or whatever can be covered. And so all of our participants, we register them at our one stop so they can get extra supportive services above and beyond what we can provide.
Can you guys hear me now? Am I back?
Yeah. But you can
Sorry.
kind of skip this too.
Okay, yeah. So, I think we pretty much talked about our integration of our programming. And one of the things that Karen alluded to is around the Michigan Works. That is an American Job Center. So all you across the nation there. We call it Michigan Works here in Michigan. It's the American Job Center, which is your local workforce board centers. And then we can talk a little bit about Brownsfield EPA grants. So we partnered up with Detroit Training Center to provide CDL, HAZWOPER, lead asbestos, OSHA 30, and CPR first aid. We targeted one specific area because there is a Marathon oil refinery in that area, 4820217. So we partnered with Marathon to figure out what the needs are around the cleanup contamination of being around that area. What they did was, what Marathon did, they actually bought numerous hundreds, thousands of parcels in that area because of the pollution, because of the contamination from their oil refinery, and they relocated families to in the same geographic area, but it's different zip code, into homes. So that's what we're working with them to. Hazmat spelled wrong, but working with them to around employment, around the cleanup, and we're working with community center there, which is a local social center for the area, and we're working with them to provide outreach and services and employment. So a little bit about, I guess you guys all know pretty much what CDL HAZWOPER training is. It's a 40-hour HAZWOPER 40 with a CDL-A. They spend their 2 weeks testing for the tip test, which is really hard, I hear. Once completed, they will go into the yard and practice the driving as well as the HAZWOPER training. HAZWOPER 40 is a 40-hour training, as you all know, related to the cleanup and transportation of the hazardous materials.
And so, Mac, when we talked about that integration and the IAT model, how we do that contextual education, that's where that tip really comes in handy, because we have instructors that really go through that whole tip test to help them and to understand what they need to do and some of the questions, especially if it deals with, any type of algebra or, any math. And some of them have really great conversations like, hey, I really want to, have my own truck. Well, let's think about this and the costs. And, that's where our financial coach comes in too. And so it's really fun to watch that class and while they're preparing for their tip test.
Yeah, that's the most challenging part of CDLs around that tip and the education component. A lot of folks have not had a lot of training, education in so many years. So it's a nice way to enhance their skills. And we know the curriculum, we understand it. We give out the tip book. It's like word from word. How do you understand this? Practice tests, things of that nature. And their success rate speaks for itself, where folks that go through our program, the more likely to pass the tip one way around. Sometimes, have to retake it, but a majority of the students, they complete. Our grant was awarded back in October 2021, Karen. That typo there, it's okay. So we did 2 cohorts so far. We do small cohorts. That's one thing about us. We do small cohorts because we like the opportunity to give that one-on-one attention to those students that go through our programming. Cohorts usually run about 7 or 8. And, they begin with 12. And, as you guys all know, the dropout, rate of folks that are getting in, they come out. Currently, we have 15 enrolled. We have 2 cohorts and 15 enrolled. Currently, we are recruiting for a hazmat technician, which actually we partnered up with our local employer. So the employer has come to us and said, hey, I'm looking to hire 10 folks in end of April. So we're trying to schedule the training just around that. So once they complete, they go right into their job. And they're actually assisting us recruiting. So some of them may be incumbent workers as well. Success story. One of the success stories that we wanted to share with you guys is Justin James. Justin James is a 24-year-old man residing in Detroit, completed his CDL training with SWES in collaboration with Detroit Training Center. He faced several challenges, including the car breaking down and having his cell phone service discontinued, lack of payment. So we assisted him. Now, with different, especially connecting with our local AJC, we assist them with all those barriers around, fixing his car and getting his situation where we're providing a stipend to him to get his, payment, advocated. But despite all those obstacles, he persevered. I don't say this in my throat, but currently he has 90 day. He has over 90 days as a CDL driver for Central Transport, which is a large CDL facility here in Detroit. He now is making $25 an hour. After 90 days, his rate jumped $2 to $2.50. So his journey is evidence that opportunity related to the EPA in the career path. And one thing I wanted to share is a lot of folks come in with different paths. We don't know their paths. It takes them a long time to tell us what the issues are that they're facing, to share those, especially for older gentlemen that been serving 20 years in prison coming right out. So it takes them a long time to develop that relationship with our case managers and our team. And once they do, the evidence shows that their success is just in their hands for sure. And then of course our contact information I'll put in the chat as well for Karen and I for any questions. So.
Oh, I also want to add, Mac, that with those that are returning citizens, we actually were trained in it's a skill set resume. We use tools from Reskill America Alliance. And so that has been really, really beneficial in creating a resume that takes advantage of their credentials, their skill set, and maybe what skills they learned, even if they had that huge gap in employment. So the focus isn't necessarily on a degree or their employment, but really their skills and their strengths. And what we found, especially with those that are justice involved, that their resumes are awesome. And to see them, to know that they have something that they're really proud of, and they can get hired right away. And we also work with felony friendly organizations and employers too. But that the resume is so critical when you have those gaps in employment and time out. And so we found that working with this whole training that we did, and it's with our Career Center, our American Job Center, as well as in-house at SWES. It's to see our participants when they complete something and they get that beautiful resume. It's just amazing.
Why Karen speaks, I keep calling it beautiful resume. They actually work on it. They work on it throughout the program. They want it, they nifty it up, especially with the veteran population. They like their stars and stripes all over, and employers, they gravitated to those. We make our resume unique to the person. It's not a template. I mean, each individual is different, and the employer, it's one of those that catches your eye. So
Any questions? I think that's fantastic. And the question is, people would like to see your slide deck. So if you send it to me after today's, we'll make sure we put it in the notes next week. Well done.
sure.
Thanks,
Okay.
Mac and
No
Karen.
problem. Thank you.
Does
All right,
anyone
Mike.
have any questions?
Yeah. Again, thank you. We really appreciate it. I have one. What do you use, or what do you suggest for your, I guess, wraparound services or your interactions with law enforcement, legal services, and mental health? Because I know that those are things that kind of go back and forth. And that's not a simple question. I realize
No,
that.
no. And I can, I can speak on it. Maybe Karen can jump on it. Sorry. We have partnerships with the local police and courts. So we have many of our state reps in political candidate or political advisors, whatever you want to call them, political politicians. They have different expungement affairs. So we assist them with expungements. We go over understanding what they need to do in order to get their expungements. We have partnership with, it's called Street Outreach of Detroit, and it's a partnership with the local district court's office, where each individual that's in some type of training program, SWES, whatever training program, they get their tickets and they get their fines waived if they're part of a training. So we partnered up with the local district court to assist those individuals that have driver license issues, legal aid, mental illness counseling division that I think Karen spoke about in the beginning. Southwest Counseling Solutions, we assist folks with a mental illness. Those are, once they tell us, once they get down to the wire where we understand what their needs are. We have multiple different partners within the city of Detroit. If we do not provide it, we know someone that does. We do not refer them to an agency. We refer them to a person, and we set that appointment up for that follow-up. That's one of the things that our team really makes sure that it's done. Karen, you want to jump?
I really like the idea that you presented. You actually assign 3 people. You have contact, you've got a caseworker, you've got a financial coach, and you've got a job developer. So these people, it's not that they have nowhere to go. And we'll talk about that later. There's got to be a path to program management, and you've got 3 paths, which is fantastic. We've heard of 1, we've heard of 2. This is the first time I've heard of 3, and it's great. It's a great idea.
And everyone, our team meetings, really, we discuss, different individuals and see what the progress is. And it's constant follow-up. They get sick of us, but at the end of the program, they love us because we're making sure that, even when they're working, constant communication, making sure that they don't need anything. They're like, Miss Claudia or Miss Ebony, I'm okay, stop, this, we're good. Or Miss Angie, she's our guru around the returning citizens because she has multiple different referrals. So yeah, it's
well, with an 87 completion rate and a 100% employment rate, it shows that the work you're doing is valuable.
Again, it's because of that. Again, we emphasize on that small cohort. We make sure that we don't over enroll where we cannot handle. Just like right now, we will start with 12. We're probably in with 10, and it's easier for us to handle those specialized individuals if it's a smaller cohort. We do multiple cohorts, but just smaller ones.
Yep, and I think just again, that holistic approach where we're really doing all these other services and it's braided in with that person while they're doing the training so that we can catch them and we can mitigate any barriers has been really critical.
Excellent.
I have one more not simple question, sorry. You guys, again, do an amazing job, and have a fantastic program. Have you had, or what would you do in the event of recidivism? So you've done everything that you can on your end. The individual has gone through your program. They're now placed in a, employment environment. And then weeks, months later down the line, they have a setback and they, again, find themselves on the wrong side of the bench or the law or whatever that is. How have you had to deal with that, or what do you plan to do if you have to deal with that? Or
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I think it's our last DOL Department of Labor reentry grant that we had. It was a 2%, I believe, recidivism. Can't even say it. Recidivism. When I think it was one individual that got back on the followed the wrong crowd, and got back into incarceration. But one of the things, like I was saying about the follow up, it was a constant follow up, making sure they were good, because a lot of times is the resources are not there for them when they're ready, when they need it. So that constant, every month there's calls, every couple weeks there's calls, making sure they're all good, making sure their family is good. A lot of folks come in with their different issues from their family, whether it be tax foreclosure or my mom's losing her house. How do I help her? I need to get back. I need more money. Or we make sure that we provide a difference. Multiple services with them, and of course their families as well. Nothing we can control besides what we have in control of it. So we try our best to work with local probation officers, local federal probation officers. We have a great relationship with everyone. The case manager has a rapport with them where, a lot of times they would have to leave training to go check in. So now we switched it where the probation officers actually come into the training just to do their check-ins. So they like that. They're like, oh, I'll go anywhere as long as they're doing something, So that's one of the things that we have really excelled at, was where the partnerships and understanding of what they're doing.
Right. Thanks, Mac. I was going to say that we've got a great partnership with the probation officers and the courts. And I think that, them keeping track both ways, whether they're checking in or they're coming to our program and following up, has been really helpful.
Yep.
Thank you. And what about your employers? What about that employer who has that individual, and then their reflection on your program?
We get those calls. I want 10 more of this guy. The other way, like, hey, this guy didn't show up. What's going on? This is the strike one, Mac, or how it goes. We were sending folks over, and they were we try not to mess. I mean, we tell them at the beginning, like, you are representing the next 5 people. So if you have any issues of, getting to work or, whatever it may be, let us know, call ahead. If you're going to miss work, call, because no show up, no call, it's basically termination. You guys all know. So
yeah, that's our work readiness instructor too. She really, she really is tough. And she, that's what she tells them. And it's exactly what you said, Mac. When they're going out and they're representing Southwest, and we're putting ourselves out there too, when we give them a client who we think is going to be perfect for that job. And then it turns out that, they might have some concerns, they might have some barriers, which we can address. But, when they do that no call, no show, and then we find out, then, our work readiness instructor will give them a call too, as well as our case manager, and to find out what's going on, but also to, straighten them out. So.
Yeah.
Great.
But we really work with a lot of felony-friendly employers, and so they understand.
They understand it.
With it.
Yep. They understand it, and they, a lot of times, again, it's a, joking thing, but we are very, very fortunate that we have a great relationship with multiple different employers, and our clients, are recommending folks to come through our program. So it's a nice way. If you don't find them a job, they're gonna talk, bad about you. But if you find them a job in a good spot, they're gonna recommend you all over. So we've been very fortunate to do that.
Okay, well, that's a new term to me, felony-friendly employers. So I'll have to put that one in my book.
Well, that's a good segue into what we'll talk about in a few minutes here. Thank you very much for this presentation. The last PLCs, we talked about consequences of incarceration, and we talked about challenges to instructors, challenges to program staff, placement challenges. Let's talk a little bit today, in the remaining moments we have, is what kind of strategies can we implement to help mitigate some of these consequences and challenges that previously incarcerated people have. And it's important to note before we even start is what is a previously incarcerated person who is a returning citizen, where when only 10% of the people in prison may be violent offenders, and maybe 60% are drug related, there is a range of returning citizens, from people who you would be proud to be working with to those that maybe have issues. And this goes into that whole area of recruitment. How do you determine who you're bringing into the program? And of course, if you've got a heavy duty returning citizen program, you're going to need heavy duty support services. If you've got a program where you're accepting returning citizens who may have had a drug offense, can't get a job, or the bandbox is not in their community, they're having all the consequences that a previously incarcerated person has, you may find someone who is very amiable to your program and would be proud to be one of your applicants. So maybe that first early discussions, if you're going to be working with the returning citizens, is what level of returning citizens are we going to be working with? It's an informal discussion. Now, we don't want to, in these programs, we don't want to exclude anyone, but we also have to keep in mind, we got 15 seats or 18 seats. Every seat that is occupied, if they drop out, it's a wasted seat. If they can't get a job, it's a wasted seat. So there's a certain amount of being callous here and saying, okay, at what level can we work with people? Now, that may be everyone. It may be, depending on your program, your support, your outside support, your wraparound services, it may be many, it may be very few. And it could be we'll just take a certain category of people. So that level of offense is important. Also, when was that offense occurred? You know, they don't make a distinction. Were you in jail 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or last week? Again, we're not differentiating between your time of incarceration or not. Were you ever incarcerated? Oh, I don't want to take a chance. You know, I don't know that I could place you. So again, when you're doing your policy and recruitment policy, what is that situation? What kind of baggage do they have? You know, are they going back to their old neighborhood? Are they going to be going back to their old friends? Again, in this whole interview process, to the extent that you could understand at what point they're starting and willing to start a new life and start a new career. This is really, really important. And of course, the whole area of, and Mac alluded to it, is the court appearances, needing to work with caseworkers and scheduling. And you have to ask yourself, for the new grantees that are thinking of applying, where are we on that continuum? Are we a standalone? And the nice thing about MAC, and actually when we talk about Auberly, we talk about MAC's program, Fortune Society, they've got a lot of support, many partners. So they're able to go a little deeper. They can do mental services. They could do wraparound services. They could, as we talked about, they could have 3 caseworkers on each person. Clearly, you can't support this with a job training program. What you can do, though, is you could attach it to a program. And as we were introducing ourselves today, we've got people who are getting ready perhaps to get a different grant, and this would dovetail and back up real close to that, where you could get services that they're eager to provide to EJ communities, and you could use that help. And so to the point that you could partner with them, and that's why partnering is so important. So in this whole area of recruitment, I think most of to mitigate issues, and I'm going to go through these and we can discuss them, but to mitigate issues early is you have to really look at your recruitment policy internally, and how you're going to do it, the level of offense, and what type of person you're going to be recruiting. Once they're in the program, of course, you've got this issue of staff and instructors. You've got to know before, and again, for new grantees in particular, what kind of capability you have in terms of your staff, in terms of your instructors. Are you used to working with returning citizens? And again, that depends on your level of depth of how deep are you going to get into the people that you're recruiting. Do you have transitional work, for example, for those people? If you're going to keep them in the program, is there a work study program you can assign them to, or can you do something like Paul does, where you've got transitional work where they're actually, they can make a living? And as Max said, there's a way that they need to support themselves. They may have street debt, they may have court debt, they need money. And can you find a mechanism for providing them that money if that's the type of person you're going to be recruiting? Certainly, as we've discussed in past PLCs, to the extent that you could provide wraparound services like lunch, like transportation, like childcare. Again, we get back to these wraparound services. How much can your program provide? And this all goes back to partnerships. And of course, again, those of you who are going to be applying for the new grant, you've got to think about it right now. How can I establish these partnerships where they're going to provide these services to me? Because EPA will not. EPA is strictly in the environmental, but to the extent that EPA could snuggle up to these programs so you could provide all of these services, it makes your entire program really strong. And the one issue that we don't talk a lot about is your instructional staff. You know, many of these people, OSHA instructors, HAZWOPER instructors, they may be used to training engineers, not necessarily returning citizens. And of course, again, depending on how many returning citizens you have, or how long they've been out, or what is their situation, you may have people that have not been in a classroom for 20 years or 10 years or 5 years, or are very adverse to classroom work. So this is part of it. Now, are your instructors, do we say lenient or tolerant, but are they willing to work with your students? And that goes into the fact that if they have to take a certification test, what if they have a court date on the day that your certification test? Can you work around that? So when you're planning your program and you're going to be bringing in returning citizens, depending on those people that you're recruiting, do you need to talk to your instructional staff and saying, now, these are the people, this is primarily for new grantees, but people who are getting new instructors continuously. Have you worked with these people, with returning citizens before? Have you worked with people who have not been in a classroom for 5 years or 10 years? Are you worked using people that may be distracted easily? Are you graphically oriented? Are you planning on using demonstrations, a lot of hands-on types of activities, instead of here's the assignment, read this, and we'll talk about it the next time? So you're all through the program, there's a degree of tolerance that has to be employed when you're working with the citizens. One of the things that Mac and we discussed is so important is this direct path to program staff, whether it's casework, whether it's some sort of path, so that that person who might be quiet can get to the people he needs to get to. If he's struggling, if he needs remedial education, can you get it to him? And in a way that if he's struggling, he's not going to drop out, but he needs help, and he may not be willing to talk to the right person about it. This is where the work circles and the mentoring programs are so valuable that Paul does, where that participant may not necessarily want to or talk about he's struggling with fractions, or he's struggling with something and he doesn't get it. He's going to go two ways. If he can go to the right person, his mentor could help him or pass that along that, hey, John needs a little more help in math, or he needs this, he's struggling. If you don't do that, he may just drop out. And that's just the easiest course for him than to admit that he needs remedial education of some sort. So you've got to have this path to management. And that's just so important. And I'm just going to talk briefly about placement, and we can see if anyone has any questions or discussion. But the big thing on placement, you never let, and again, it depends on the type of applicant you have, you never let one of your graduates go to an interview before you've talked to that employer. You just don't do it, because you do not want to set one of your graduates who's worked so hard to get humiliated by an employer, or an employer who doesn't understand, or an employer says, well, I need so many hours, this is what I need, I'm hiring you, this is what you need to do. He's got to be, and if he's not the right one, don't send him on that interview, send him somewhere else. And you've got to seek out employers, whether they have special needs programs, or maybe they've been in that situation themselves. We've got employers who are ex-offenders, who are genuinely understand the problem because they could not get a job and they started their own companies. And we've had several instances where that's been the case, where they've actually started their own companies, and and they know the quality of workforce they're getting. They know, and they can judge in an interview right off the bat whether this person is going to be a valuable employer or it might have some issues. So definitely sit down with that employer. Now, if they have issues and you have to convince them, be a little cautious. Now, there's programs like, you could try to convince them, well, this is a reliable person, he's determined, he's taken all the tests, he's done these certifications, I can track you, I could put you in touch with a surety bond offered by the state so you don't have to worry about something happening. That isn't necessarily the answer. He's got to be motivated to want to work with your graduates to the degree that he feels comfortable, and he's going to consider the other employees that are working for him. He's got to understand that this person may have to take some time off depending on his situation and how far he is from his offense. He may need some, we talked about recidivism. He may have to go back. He may need some additional counseling, a casework. He may be working with a parole officer, and you have to do that in a way that is respectful to him, and he's not going to be called out by other employers. So you've got to be real sensitive to that placement. If you're working with one or two people who are, and many of our programs, while some are 100%, are very heavily involved with ex-offenders, many are not. They're taking people in because they think they're good, but you have to be really, on those people, you have to be sensitive to, again, depending on what their situation is. They may have had a drug offense, and or they may have some other offense that is the employer does not feel uncomfortable about hiring them. And it depends on the position they're going to be in. Of course, we talked about looking for transitional work programs. Some people have suggested you may even want to consider manpower firms, because as we talk about indemnification, often your graduates may have a transition. They may work in a transition program, but they also may go to work in a manpower firm and gain some experience and work with someone who is in a way indemnifying the employer, and they've worked for them for a while, they've got a track record, and then they go to an employment. So I would say the other thing is that's important, and we'll put all these in the notes, but there's got to be you really have to consider a path back to BJT. If for some reason this person has a problem, for whatever reason, you have to communicate to him that you can come back. We'll work with you on this, and whatever we need to do, we'll support you. You're part of this program, and we're behind you in any way, whether it's providing them a caseworker experience or legal assistance, financial assistance. You've got the program going. You just have to tell your graduates, ensure them they're part of this community that they could come back to. So these are all approaches. This is not easy work, but again, early on, you have to decide what you're going to do in terms of recruiting and accepting people into your program. Anyone, Paul, would you pretty much agree with some of these strategies that you've employed? Now, Paul, I would consider has got a heavy duty program. If he is, are you there, Paul? He has got a program where he's working very heavily.
Release him.
There he is. Paul, do you want to turn on your audio? There we go.
Yeah, I'm just having some technical difficulties.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One of the things that was brought up just a little bit earlier, can you hear me
Yes.
okay? I'm having a Wi-Fi connectivity issue.
We're good.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Paul.
In relation to the job, one of the things that we had to do, we have a staffing arm under the umbrella Recycle Force. So that allows us to use our alternative labor to get into the marketplace with the employer understanding what that means. In addition to that, we sit on our local chamber. So we're advocating for our population on the front end of the business advocacy versus the back end. And so with those two techniques or two approaches to the marketplace, that allows us with the chamber to get ahead of where we need to be on new developments and new direction that Indianapolis is going in, including our workforce population. And then another approach that we use is we develop very good relationship with the City Department of Public Works. And so when it comes to hiring, they set aside X amount of opportunities for our labor to work, let's say on litter cleanup, graffiti abatement, to help support the trash pickup. And especially on the trash pickup, I think the last meeting, we had over 50 plus people that were able to join the union. So that's like a long-term interview when they support those services. And we also work with other staffing agencies that have a reach outside of our core area in our county. And so for those participants that have transportation, their reach is further. And then from there, that could lead to full-time employment. So these approaches to employment, and I think, Mike, you had mentioned that you want to make sure that someone that has some challenges, they don't just go out there into a workforce and then something happens and that fails, and then there's both sides that are unhappy with the result. And one of the things that we do is we're very open with our employers, and we could exchange them out should that not be the right fit. A lot of time it's the right fit, because not every job obviously is for everyone, but no.
We'll come back to him if he unfreezes. He's got a very good point, and he mentioned staffing agencies. And This is an interesting concept of working with manpower firms. There are many manpower firms that are happy to work, and it's kind of a transitional labor force. And it'll give the employer hiring those people from the staffing agency. Maybe it'll be temporary help initially, but then later on, it'll turn into a full-time job. So yeah, welcome back, Paul. We're talking about working with staffing agencies, and that's not a bad approach because often they'll indemnify the individuals working for them, and it gives the employer a chance to see them in action and say, wow, this guy's fantastic.
Right. And it will surprise you how sometimes I used to have a big head of hair and it will surprise you the ones that maybe had the most challenges in whatever program that you have will go out and surprise you and nail a job and do it extremely, extremely well. So it's about the right time, the right opportunity, the right person, and setting a relationship with your employer that, hey, no harm, no foul. We just swap them out till we can find the right fit for, whatever task that they have at hand. And that way also it gives your person in your program or that's been through your program an opportunity to see what they like and what they don't like. So that's as much a valuable tool for both sides because it's someone's training in whatever realm, let's say logistics, and not everyone's set up to work in a warehouse. And they realize that's not for them, then there could be course adjustments or maybe not the specific role in the warehouse. There's something else they can do. And one thing we realize is we get more and more females within our program is that there's I'll just put it out there. Women are just a lot better at details and organization. Guys like to move heavy stuff. And so we develop a program within our program for administrative type of work. And that's just taken off. We've had we've had people go from our program administratively and get in with the public defender's office. We have one that has recently joined the prosecutor's office, and that relationship is really building. I know someone had mentioned that having close relationships with probation, and we have that also with probation, parole, and community corrections, where we go to them and help train them in their offices about what we do. And then we bring them in-house to our program so they can see actually what the program's about, because they're having a lot of turnover in those roles too. And so they come here, and I think someone else had shared they go to their organization too to check in on them. So we have all three coming here so they can stay on the clock while they're working and getting trained. And the more they can make at their work and be on the clock, the less they may have to resort to what I'll call alternative means of generating money to pay for their fees and fines and their basic, house note or car note or, groceries, paying the light bill, those things. So we just try to have an all-inclusive one shop if we can. And it goes directly to our partnerships. Someone shared something about a financial. Oh my gosh, that's huge. As you know, and a lot of our young adults, 18 to 24, will share right now that they have horrible financial skills and time management and organization because they were never taught. So one of our extremely strong relationship is with Key Bank, and they come in and do financial education. They help them get checking accounts and savings account and help build their credit until some have purchased their first home from that relationship. And they, you know, and our wheelhouse is not all the wraparound services. Our wheelhouse is, you know, we have intake, we have credentialing, and then we find them that better job. And we refer to our partnerships and those things. And I think someone mentioned about recidivism and when people fall. Part of our role here is we support them in court regardless of the number of times they fall. In fact, we were in court this morning in a donut county. And for those that are wondering what a donut county is, it's a county surrounding your main county. And so they're starting to get to know Recycle Force and the support platform that we have to help a more positive outcome or result. So like I said, it's very interesting, very exciting, but it can be very challenging too. We had a altercation today, just not too long ago. And but the way it's going to be resolved is we're going to go through it again and try to be that stable workforce. And that's what a lot of our young adults need, is that stability and consistency. And it's hard, but there's a lot of parenting that happens.
Well, you know, I think one of the things you're saying and everything you're saying, and as Mac has and Karen has also alluded to, is partnerships. You really have to have these strong partnerships, and you both do, and it shows. And perhaps those of you who are starting programs, getting those partnerships lined up is really critical to the success of the program. And we'll be talking about that both at the all grantee meeting and in future PLCs. That's probably one of the most important. All of the issues are important, but partnerships really gives you that superpower to be able to deliver services that you wouldn't normally be able to deliver. So, well, you know, I've kept you all longer. This has been great. Mac and Karen. Mac, thank Karen for our contribution today, and thank you for the good work you're doing in Detroit. It's fantastic. And is it okay if anyone contacts you? Is it okay if I put your PowerPoint up? Okay, we'll send those in the notes. Oh, fantastic. We'll put those in the notes, and it's okay if someone would like to contact you about something, we'll put your contact information in there. Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And,
Mike, before we go, we had a couple things in the chat I just want to kind of clear up. So one was about the slide deck, and there will be an attachment for that in the notes. And so when you get the notes next week, you'll be able to get that slide deck. There was a question about the resume catalog. And I don't know if that's part of that, or should people just contact you, or?
Yeah, so it's you mean the template that we're using, or the?
I imagine the question was, do you have any link for those resume catalog? So, you know.
We do not have a specific link. We actually do our training, whoever asked the question, we actually do resumes per person. I mean, designed for that person alone. I can ask our work readiness instructor if she has a template that she uses, but I want to say that the individual fills it out, and then we make it pretty, and then we go back and forth from there, from the student to the work readiness instructor to finalize. But I'm sure they use some type of template. But yes.
Okay. All right. And then lastly, someone was curious about when the next BJT opportunity was coming up, and I didn't know if Mike or EPA or somebody had an idea of when the next.
Well, and Rita might comment on this, we haven't gotten any official word, but we're kind of the story that's going around is maybe we could expect it in June. Would you concur, Rita, on something like that? They have not made any announcements to us.
All I can tell you is the draft RFA came out last week, and the final hasn't come out yet. And when they do, I'll let you know.
Yeah, thank you. Well, one thing we do know is that after the RFA goes out, you have 60 days to write your proposal and get it in. So we'll be feverishly working on how to respond to that RFA as you will, everyone writing that grant. 60 days isn't long enough, but it's what it is. So we've heard different things, maybe in June, but certainly it's not, as Rita said, if the drafts is in circulation, it's certainly not going to be real late. So we're only in March, so it may surprise us and it may come out a little earlier. So we'll just have to prepare ourselves for that.
Right. That said, if you're a program that's thinking of applying, or a new program, I guess, there's a couple of long poles in the tent that do take longer than 60 days to develop. So I would say begin now in terms of developing those relationships with advisory boards, those relationships with community partners, because those are things that take time, and you're going to need to have those, pretty much in place, because you're not going to be able to do that in 60 days. The other long pole seems to be some kind of work analysis. What work or jobs are actually available in your community. So you can kind of curve some of the training towards what those occupational outcomes are. So the workforce analysis and the relationship building are things I think you need to begin now, or soon, as opposed to waiting till the RFA.
And we'll be talking about this in the future, but it was indicated to us that it'll be similar to last year. So there may be some changes, but it'll give you a good guidepost on the areas you have to start doing the research. And as Nolan said, certainly the long tent poles you really need to get into right away. Those will be there one way or another.
I have a question. When you are trying to get partnerships, do you request a memorandum of
MOUs are, yes, that often is the case. Almost everyone does. Max nodding his head that they use MOUs. Now,
or letter of support, depending on what type of partnership you want to do. A lot of folks, they don't want to sign an MOU or MOA, but just a letter of support, especially around the employment side of it. Employers don't like to agree that, hey, I'm going to hire so many folks, but at least give them an opportunity to interview. One of the things that they changed their language, where we will interview, your folks, we'll give them a shot. And an MOA is with you, whoever's doing your training. MOU is with who's doing your training, because there is going to be a exchange of services, and I'm guessing monetary exchange. So MOU will be needed, especially with your employer, your partners that are going to provide a service.
Okay, thank you.
And the way you approach this is you indicate that you're going to be bidding on it. Rita, did I interrupt you? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you can interrupt me anytime. I wanted to say one thing that can be worked on now is to set up an employer advisory board. Get your employers together and have a meeting so that you know what they need so that you can train your students accordingly.
Okay.
And a good way to approach this, and here's the question. I don't have the grant yet. This is the grant where you have to have everything laid out before you get the grant. And it's not that you get the money and then you design the program. You design the program and then you get the grant based on your program plan. So that's what makes it challenging. And the question is, well, how could I do these? I'm asking for MOUs and letters of support, but I don't have any money. Well, you indicate to them that you've got this annual competition, you're interested in starting this program, and here's the schedule. And we really need your support to get the money, to get the grant laid out, and we need to establish our partnerships. So you do, and we'll talk about this later, but you do need to keep them informed. And as Max said, and Rita said, those people who are key partners that you're going to be needing, you indicate to them, you know, we need your help. If we get this grant and we're going in with a positive attitude that we're going to get it, can you help us? And they said, well, yeah, we could do that because it's in our wheelhouse. And in fact, we get our grant. Part of our grant is to help your people. This happens so often where they're getting money to provide services to disadvantaged people, and you've got disadvantaged people that could use the help. So whether it's HHS or whether it's a WIB or whoever it is, it's a win-win situation. You need their help and they need to provide you the services. So you want to go in with this positive attitude as we think we can get this grant, but we need these strong partners and we'd like you to be one of them. And they say, okay, we'll do that. And then they go to the next level. Okay, could you send us a letter of support? Oh yeah, we'll do that. And then maybe the next level of this, would you be interested in developing an MOU now, you know? And so you're committing them as you go down more serious, and you do the same with the employers. So you go with the attitude, you're going to get the grant, but you've got to do it now. Okay, let's think negative. You don't get the grant. Many of our grantees don't get the grant the first year, the first try. Okay, it's an annual competition. Go for it next year. So you've lined up your ducks in a row, no matter what. So you really have to think positive when you're going into this, and start like right now. Yeah.
Right, and I don't want to start a whole nother session on relationship building, but a couple things. One is you need to let them know what you need, but you also need to rely on their creativity and expertise and ask them what they can do, because sometimes they'll come up with things that you didn't think of or weren't thinking of offhand, and they might be able to provide equipment or trainers or space or, you know, other kinds of support for your program, you know, other than just financial support or end employment, and that can be very important. They might be able to provide you literally introductions or entree into industry associations or their unions, and you know, you need to look at you know, being part of those you know, local employment councils, but also organizations like your Chamber of Commerce, your United Ways, your Rotaries, you know, your Public Works. These are where all your movers and shakers and community leaders, this is kind of where they hang out, you know, and so you know, you need to find some way to get in front of them and let them know what you're doing. And so all of those relationships are important to build, and it takes time to build the relationship. And so don't wait until you got 90 days or 60 days to try to build a relationship. You need to start really working on those relationships now.
Yeah, and actually, as Iris said, it's so important to get involved in the employer committees of the state. There's, you know, everybody's working for the same end goal, and it's putting people in the communities to work. So you're a welcome sight to people who are offering these services, and a welcome sight to employers who otherwise might have to invest $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in some of these certifications, and a welcome sight to someone who doesn't know what they want to do, but they want to start a new life. So it's win-win-win, and you've got to go into that attitude that I'm here and I can offer this community something really positive on all fronts. The employers, I'm doing them a favor. Other service organizations can help, and certainly the participants. So,
All right.
well, as I said before, I've kept you all way too long, but that's the nice thing about having a small group and being informal. So hopefully we'll see you soon, and at the national conference.
Yeah, and thank you all of you for participating, and good to see you and hear from you.
Talk to you soon. Okay, take care, Rita.